Hello again, all my Rosset Point Rembrandts, my remote Raphaels. I wanted to talk to you today about how one art form can inspire another art form. For example, someone could write a poem that inspires another artist to write a song. Someone could write a song that inspires an artist to do a painting. Someone may make a painting that inspires someone to create a book, and someone may take a book and inspire them to make a how to draw video. And that's what happened with me. I took this book called The World According to Humphrey, and it has inspired me to create the art video that we're working on together right now. The book is very, very entertaining. I just finished it, in fact. And if you haven't finished it, I highly recommend it. I've read the whole thing. I'll try not to spoil it for anybody, but I will say that it turns out that Humphrey the hamster turns out to be a Martian, and he eats all the children and all the teachers at the end of the book. I'm just kidding. He doesn't eat all the teachers, just the children. No, he doesn't need anybody. He's not a Martian. But it is a very entertaining book. And it did inspire me to work on our next drawing together. So I hope that you're with me and we'll get started on our drawing of Humphrey together. And I'm going to start out by drawing just a little indication of how big Humphrey is going to be. So I'm going to start right at the top of my paper and I'm going to make a light mark. And then right to the bottom, I'm going to make a light mark, maybe an inch or two away from the top and an inch or two away from the bottom. The middle is going to be right here, and if I move it up a little bit, that means that my circles won't be the same size. The top one is going to be a little bit smaller. And I know where I want the top of my circle to be. And when I like it, doesn't have to be perfect, but when it's about the size and shape that I like, I'm going to go ahead and make these lines a little bit darker, but not so dark that I can't erase them. After I've drawn the top circle, I'm going to draw the bottom circle, and this one's going to be nice and big. And don't make it skinny like this. The circle is going to come all the way out here. Not here, all the way out here. I'm going to start right at the side of his head, not near the top, but right at the side. So halfway down, I'm going to lightly draw a line that goes straight up. I'm going to do it on both sides. And it's only going to go up to about the top of his head. It doesn't need to go all the way to the top of the paper because his ears are not going to be really big. So I'm going to draw a triangle. I'm going to make a little bit of a curve at the end, so it's not real pointy like a cat's ears, but it's kind of like a triangle. Also, I'm not going to make these triangles skinny, like horns. Okay? Make them nice and thick. Nice, big, fat, cute, chubby ears. After I have those big, fat triangles, and again, they're wide, they're not skinny. After I have those big triangles, I'm going to draw a line that goes right down the middle. And it's time to move on to his eyes already. His eyes are going to be nice and big, cute brown eyes. So don't make them teeny tiny. And also, don't make them up near the top of the head. They're going to be halfway down, right in the middle of his head. I'm going to draw two ovals. Right at the middle of his head. After I have his eyes, I have to draw his nose. And his nose is going to be just like a letter V, but it's not going to be a skinny V like this. It's not going to be a pointy V like that. After I have his nose, his mouth is going to be just a little bit bigger. He's got a tiny little mouth. And I'm going to draw just like a triangle that's pointing down. Simple as that. And if you want to, you can draw a little line that goes from his nose to his mouth, but you don't have to if you don't want to. That's optional. That means you have a choice. You can do it or not do it. And just like that, our hamster has a face now. Now the next part is a little bit tricky. We're going to draw his arms, and they're going to be not in the middle of his body, not up at the top, but somewhere between the middle and a little bit higher. I'm going to draw two lines. They go from the edge of the circle, and they go in just a little bit. There's still quite a bit of space in between. To make them look a little bit more natural, I'm going to curve this line right here and then continue it right along that circle that I've already drawn. This will make them look a little bit less pointy and a little bit softer and furry. My next step is to draw his hands, and his hands are going to be pretty tiny, and I don't want them to be too close together. Don't make them too close together because he's going to be holding a pencil and a little journal. So leave a little bit of space between his hands. And I'm not really drawing his hands right now. I'm actually just drawing where his hands are going to be. So I'm keeping it light. His hands are a little bit bigger than his eyes, but they're pretty small. The next thing I'm going to do after he has his face and his arms and his hands is I'm going to start drawing his feet. And I'm going to start right at the bottom of the paper, and I'm going to draw a straight line right at the bottom of Humphrey's body, a straight line that goes all the way across. And how long is this straight line? If I were to go from the edge of his body straight down, that's about how long it's going to be. From the edge of his body straight down, that's about how long that line is going to be. That's the bottom of his feet. Now, to make the top of his feet, we're going to keep them skinny. They're not going to be big and fat and fluffy like a bunny's feet. They're going to be pretty skinny. So I would say on your paper, since your paper is smaller, the size of his foot should be about as big as one finger, no bigger than that. So don't make it big and tall. It's going to be pretty skinny, and it's going to go from the end of this line back to the curve. Now his body right now looks a little bit too chubby. We want it to look fluffy and chubby, but maybe we want to show a little bit of the shape of his body. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to follow along this curve on the bottom, this circle that I've already made, but I'm going to have it curve in as it gets closer to the elbow. So it goes up and then it curves in like this. So it goes to maybe about the middle of the arm. I just follow this circle, and then as it gets about halfway up the leg, I'm going to have it curve in until it gets about to the middle of the arm. After I've done that, I don't need this outside guide line anymore. That's why I drew it nice and light so that I can erase it. So after I've drawn this curve, I'm going to erase this line right here. And of course, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Well, hopefully he's starting to look more like a hamster now, but he's not just any hamster, he's Humphrey the hamster. And one of the things that's going to make him look like Humphrey is putting a pencil in his hand. So I'm going to draw a straight line that goes to the top of his hand, and then it stops. Then there's another straight line that goes to the top of his hand, and it stops. It doesn't continue through his hand because when I'm holding a pencil, you can see that my hand covers up the pencil. So I'm just going to have a line that goes to the top of the hand, and then if I imagine that this pencil line continues, this is the lower part of the pencil. Now to finish the details, I'm going to have the tip of the pencil come to a point, and I'm going to put 3 or 4 curved lines right here to show the eraser on the other end of the pencil. In his other hand, I'm going to draw a rectangle to show the little journal that he keeps. And again, it's not going to cover up his hand because when you're holding something in your hand covers up what you're holding. Now I'm going to do this next step to make my journal look like a spiral binder. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but if you want to, all it is a series of letter C's that are backwards. I'm just drawing the letter C backwards, and when I do, it's going to look like the top of a spiral notebook. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, because not all notebooks, not all journals are spiral. So if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. It's optional. Now I've got the basic shape. It's time to put in some details. And for his hands, the details are very simple. All I have to do is draw 1 line, 2 lines, and just by drawing 2 lines, it looks like he's got 3 fingers. Now I'm going to make them curved. So this is curved, and that's curved, and this fingertip is curved. But by doing that, now it looks like that little oval shape that I made before. Now it looks like a hand, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. He's got tiny little hands. There's 1 line. There's another line. That's all I have to do, and just make the tips of the fingers look curved. The same kind of detail is going to be done with the toes. I'm going to draw 2 curved lines that are the same kind of curve as the top. So this is the curve at the top of the foot. I'm going to draw 2 lines that go in the same direction. Just by drawing 2 lines, now Humphrey's got toes. There's 2 right there. And drawing 2 lines is going to make it look like Humphrey has got 3 toes that are showing. Some other details, and these again are optional. You can wait until you color. You can give him little teeth, and his teeth are kind of like a rabbit's. So I just drew 2 little teeth right here. You don't have to draw this if you don't want to, but I drew 2 little teeth right here. I'm going to give him a little circle right here to look like a twinkle, and then I'm going to color in his eyes because he's got those big brown eyes. I'm also going to give him just 2 little curved lines so it looks like he's got eyebrows, which give his face a little bit of expression. If you don't like the way the eyebrows look, then you don't have to draw eyebrows. And the last detail that I'm going to do before I add some color is I'm going to make his cheeks just a little bit rounder, a little bit fatter, because one of the things that Humphrey talks about is that sometimes he stores food in his big fat cheeks. Even if he's not ready to eat it, he puts it in his cheeks, and that makes his fat cheeks even fatter. So that's what I'm going to draw. If you like the shape of his head and you think it's easier, well, you can keep it this way. I'm going to make his cheeks a little bit wider along the bottom. You see how this was my original curve and now it's a little bit wider? I'm going to do the same thing on both sides. You don't have to do this, but I'll show it to you. And if you like the way it looks, well, then go ahead and do it. And if you don't like it, well, it's different opinions for different people. I'm going to give them just a little bit of a chin, see how that looks. You can give them a little bit of a chin if you want to, but again, you don't have to. But I think that Humphrey is just about ready for some color. So let's get started with that. Well, there's Humphrey in full color. At least this is my version of Humphrey. I can't wait to see your version of Humphrey. I hope that this drawing activity inspires you to do more drawing, and I also hope that it inspires you to continue reading The World According to Humphrey. It really is a terrific book, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So until we do get together again, stay creative, stay safe, and as Mr. Gann would say, read, read, read. We'll see you soon.